All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Darius Anucauskas, and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com. And today is Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the 20th of February, 2026. Look, I wanted to quickly touch on the black gold, basically, because it has been, hitting the wires lately. The news around it has been hitting the wires. Basically, yes, oil is a hot topic now, especially due to the current ongoing geopolitical tensions. Look, I wanted to check what's happening from the technical side, a little bit on the fundamental side, of course, as well. So before we go any further, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So yes, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest. I'm not going to disappear anywhere. So yes, like I said, a it is like I said, it is a hot topic right now. Also, just a quick mentioning of our Markets.com website, which you can always check out for more information about us. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist. Ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into the charts. And now, where's that oil? Let me just put it on screen here. So yeah, WTI oil. WTI oil, if we take a look at the daily chart right now, you can see that it is near a critical area of resistance. Now, this is the downside resistance line, which basically is drawn from the highest point of 2022. And you can see, yes, it is a little bit on the tentative side. Don't get me wrong, because we only have like kind of two touches here in a way, but yep, in a way we're trying to find some sort of logic everywhere. We can draw a bunch of other trend lines, of course. We can overcrowd the chart. We can draw something here as well. But I think, look, this could play out, but again, it's also a little bit subjective. So, like, they're all subjective in a way, so it's not really something, but we're trying to find some sort of sense. Anyway, look, the fact that there is a holdup right now happening here, that is true. So we have tested this 66.48 zone, and yep, it found resistance here. I mean, it did overshoot it by a little bit. However, let's see what's going to happen this week, by the end of this week, because look, we know that geopolitics right now is kind of driving oil prices higher, because we know that there's a huge U.S. military buildup near the Strait of Hormuz, and near in the Oman Gulf. And again, every there's these tensions with Iran. They're planning to attack Iran, and yeah, it's in my opinion absurd, total absurd. But anyway, this is the world. This is the hypocritical world that we live in. Now, look, again, one country is allowed to invade, the other country is not allowed to invade. So it's like, yeah, it's the world is really messed up right now. Anyway, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sense, of all this. At least we are trying to, and trying to adjust our positions accordingly. Now, what could happen here right now? Now, first of all, given that we're, like I said, near this key area of resistance, the question is, like, let's say, is this going to hold eventually? Are we going to continue trading below this downside line, below the 66.5 zone, or actually is this time, is the time for a breakout here? Because look, let's face it, this move lower has been happening for some time right now, and we have been, on a down move for quite some time, since basically 2022, when we saw the conflict in Ukraine erupting. So this, like I said, this now is at the moment here, like, also we're, on the brink of this kind of potential conflict, because again, we don't know what kind of a conflict will it be. Will it be a prolonged one, or will it be something like last year, where basically There's a few rockets sent to into Iran. They show that it's kind of it's destabilized. We destroy massive like enrichment facilities and stuff like that, and then actually after a few weeks it's business as usual. Or actually, is it going to be like a more prolonged one where actually where Iran is going to start responding heavily, and if it does, then well, honestly, I don't think that it's going to be a quiet one, So for sure, there's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of other countries involved in all this, so we'll see how it plays out. To be honest, because again, I don't think that people understand the the scale of it. How much it can actually damage the whole world's economy. Now, in terms of oil, if this does escalate, and if it, let's say, if it happens to be a prolonged escalation, then yes, I mean, I'm expecting this one actually, this trend line to break, and we could be aiming now for for the closer to the 80s now in terms of per barrel on WTI oil. If this is, like I said, this is an escalation, like a short term one, then basically I'm looking forward here, or not looking forward, but looking to see here is something like a spike higher, but then a very quick reversal back down. And if I look at the monthly chart here, for example, let me just jump in here. So basically, I would see this one. I would probably see this one maybe traveling towards the $70 mark, and then next week, for example, it calms down. Now, this is the idea if there is an escalation happening during this weekend. I do understand that we heard the news saying, that the U.S. is giving 10 to 15 days for Iran to decide and stuff like that. Um, but is it going to be that? I mean, nowadays with politics, you can I'll believe it when I'll see it. Okay, everything changes very quickly, so that's why I always say to people, if you are trading something like oil, try not to keep the positions over the weekend, because normally if there is an escalation of some sort, then there are attacks normally happen during the weekend because the markets are closed. So the ideal scenario, it happens on a Saturday. On a Sunday, you still have some time to release some, to do some public releases, to try to calm down the market before Monday. The market still reacts on Monday. However, it's kind of okay. It's like something like this. But now, like I said, it's going to be like very interesting to see what's going to happen further, and is there going to be some sort of an escalation happening this weekend? And if it does, like I said, I do believe that there could be a spike higher here, but then maybe throughout the next week or something like that, we could see, like I said, like the tensions kind of calming down a little bit. Maybe again, this is like one theory, okay? This is like one scenario. Now, for now, I would say it this way: if given that we don't know what's going to happen when, we can only assume. For now, probably you can stick to the technicals, and I think that this will help you quite a lot. So for now, like I said, if we do push and stay above this downside line, we stay above the 66.5 zone here, then yeah, I'm gonna actually go for that psychological $70 mark. I think it's quite reasonable. But then follow the headlines very much. If I can use these words this way, follow the headlines, because if suddenly we see like a calming down moment, oil will reverse very quickly to the downside. The reason for that is that for now, I do not believe in higher prices in oil, just because the U.S. does not need higher prices for oil. I mean, the current administration does not need that, and given with the upcoming events in the U.S., where the fate of the U.S. leader will be decided. So that's where, like I said, lower oil prices is something that current administration needs, and especially if you're willing to bring businesses into the U.S. Kind of invite companies and countries to build factories inside the U.S. Well, with higher oil prices, that's not something that you need you can achieve much. So again, like I said, it's for now. It's the focus is actually lower oil prices. And another thing is that if you are trying to, well, as you say, trying to weaken some countries which are exporting a lot of oil, then again, higher prices, you do not need those. All right, so that's why it's an interesting moment that we're going through. So yes, we're seeing the current crude oil prices elevated. However, in the medium term, I do not believe in those yet. Maybe later on, but not yet, because again, just because it's all political. Look, long story short, looking at this WTI oil, keep your eyes on this area. If we continue to trade below it, I do believe in a little bit of a retracement back down, maybe all the way to the 60s. With Brent oil, we still have a little bit of room, so maybe, like I said, this is where it could play out nicely for WTI oil. We could see, let's say, this is a monthly chart. We could see a push, towards the $70 mark, the spike higher here. At the same time, Brent oil travels a little bit higher, tests this downside line, which is taken from the highest point of 2024. And it tests it, and then basically we see a reversal back down. Now we can draw the same trend line from here as well, from the highest point of 2022. But in here, you'll see that we have broken the trend line. So this is kind of becoming the next little area of resistance where the holdup could happen. So we broke the downside line, the same one which we have on WTI oil, on Brent, but now we're approaching the other area of resistance, so potential area of resistance, of course. So keep that in mind. Like I said, it could be quite interesting. We're going through some interesting developments in geopolitics right now. Again, the idea, like I said, which I discussed right now, is mainly surrounding the fact that if we see an escalation during this upcoming weekend, so let's see if that's going to happen or not. But just like a little, like I said, fun prediction or something. I mean, actually, the word "fun" here is not really. It doesn't really have a place to be, to be honest, but because nothing is fun with right now with geopolitics. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments what you think, because it's quite interesting to see what are your opinions, and yeah, we'll go through from there. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching and listening. As always, stay safe, have your stop losses in place, risk only what you can afford to lose, don't overtrade, and everything will be fine. I'll see you later in my next little video update. Bye for now.